guys, it's Kate again. I am here to film my second video on BookTube. This is my my May wrap-up. I read 8 books, or should have read 8 books by the time you see this, for the month, and I'm going to go through them. So, my first book that I read was The Summer of Jordi Perez by Amy Spalding. This was a really adorable, cute YA novel about a girl named, actually I don't even remember her name, but anyways, she is a teen girl and she is obsessed with this one clothing boutique in her small California town, and so she decides that she is going to become an intern. She wants to become an intern through this boutique. She's a fantastic character in a lot of ways. She's gay, openly gay, and she's also a fat girl, which I talked about in my last video about how I really enjoy watching and reading books about girl characters, especially in young adult, that are bigger, because we don't see that a lot. It is an adorable summer romance between our main character and a rival for her internship, Jordi Perez. And I listened to this in an audio and I adored it. If you enjoy audiobooks at all, I would highly, highly recommend listening to it on audio. It's quite short. I feel like I read it and it was like less than a 6-hour audiobook, which is pretty dang small. But it was really adorable, adorable, cute romance between these two girls. And with the main character really coming to terms with the fact that she is comfortable with who she is, but she also has things that make her uncomfortable about herself still. And just to show that just because you are body positive and you're okay with you know, wearing certain clothes or being yourself, well, we all have insecurities. And I think it's a great story, and I really, really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I would pick it up. Alright, next, if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at my iPad, so I get these books in order. The next book I read was The Way You Make Me Feel by Maurene. I received this book as a free e-arc from NetGalley. I read Maurene's her last book last year, and I really enjoyed it. It had to do with a romance, and this girl wanted to use her ideas about Korean dramas and apply it to this romance she was having. Well, this one is a little bit different. We have a main character who, she's a bit of a prankster. She lives with her father, who runs a food truck, and she has a mother, but her mother's pretty non-existent, jetting off around the world. She's kind of one of those Instagram stars, you know, that do all those product placement sort of things. You probably see them online. And she's kind of absent from her daughter's life. Well, the daughter has a very interesting relationship with her father, and she is a bit of a prankster, and her father normally is, you know, lets it slide off his back, whatever. But after a prank that she did went way wrong, she is forced to work all summer in her father's food truck with her arch nemesis. And it's the story of that, and a little romance, a light romance is involved. For me, this I didn't connect with it as many other people did. I went on Goodreads and I saw that a lot of people that I trust and read gave it like 5 stars, you know, really high ratings. And while it's well written, I think Maurene does write fantastic YA contemporary novels. I just didn't connect with the main character, and the whole relationship between her and her father didn't always ring true for me. But it is a cute contemporary to read in the summer. I do recommend it, but it just wasn't my favorite. I gave it 3.5 stars, which is fairly average for me. You know, sometimes a 3 star is good, sometimes for me it's not. It just depends on the novel. And so, yeah. And, you know, maybe later on in a video I'll go over how I, you know, rate my novels. And yeah, it was okay. It was all right. It was well written, but it just wasn't for me, I don't think. 3.5 stars, like I said. All right, next book. All right, I read Arrogant Devil by R.S. Gray. I was so excited to get an early copy of this book. I am a big fan of R.S. Gray. She writes really great romantic comedies. I read one other book by her this year called Beauty and the Bell, which was another, I was lucky enough to get a free copy of that as well. And I also read another book by her previously to that, which was last year. I read The Fox and the Hound. And these are all contemporary romantic comedies. What was really interesting about this one is it had to do kind of with a cowboy type character. It's not a traditional cowboy romance, but this guy runs this farm. But the story really is about this girl who leaves her emotionally manipulative husband and runs off to from I believe from California to Texas to try to get her sister to help her out, stay with her sister, maybe get a job. She hasn't worked in a long time. And her sister decides, okay, fine, I'm in France, but I will somehow get you a job, a temporary job with my boss. Well, it's kind of it's a hate to love romance, and so obviously they don't completely get along at the beginning, but it's a really fun, light romance that I just could not put down. I read it in maybe a day and a half, and lately I've been spending more time in my books, even if I like them, so the fact that I finished it that quickly says something. She writes animals into her stories really cool. There's a dog that the male character has that is adorable, and then there's a grandmother character which is just hilarity in itself, and I highly recommend it. I gave this book 4.25 stars. Again, it was an e-arc. I didn't read it on audio yet or anything like that, but I do highly recommend R.S. Gray, and this is actually probably tied with The Fox and the Hound, probably my favorite R.S. Gray book, so please pick it up. All right, next I read Girl Made of Stars. This is a YA realistic fiction. Again, I got this as part of an e-arc from NetGalley. This one was fantastic. I'll just say that from the beginning. It was a 5-star book for me. It's a fantastic novel, but it's not for everybody. It has to do with the concept of consent or lack thereof and the Me Too movement. So the basic storyline is you have this girl and this guy character, and it's narrated by the girl, and they're twins. It's a boy and girl twin, and the girl has just found out that her brother is being accused of raping his girlfriend. Well, you go through all the gambit of emotions when you're thinking about this, and I found myself trying to put myself in the main character's shoes and figure out, like, how would you react to that when, one of your closest friends, his girlfriend, is accusing your brother of rape? How do you respond to that? Even if you believe her, how do you support your brother or deal with your brother when it's such a complicated story, but it's multi-layered, it's beautifully written. I highly recommend it, especially if you work with teenagers or you have teenagers in your life. It's a really important book, and is rife with discussion about what consent really means. How do we react to that? Is it boys just being boys sort of thing? And it's a complicated problem. And it's something that we're facing right now in our society. And I just think it was done beautifully. I would definitely probably put this on my top reads of the year. It was a really beautifully written book, tackling a really tough topic. So 5 out of 5 stars for me. Okay, next I read Long Way Down. This was kind of a surprise for me. I didn't expect to read this, but I was at work one day and, I need to get some stuff done, but it was one of those things where it's kind of mindless. I needed to have something in my ears. There was no kids that day, and so I picked this up on Overdrive on my library ebook audiobook app. If you guys aren't familiar, it's free with your library, and if you're lucky enough to have it, I would definitely download it and use it. but I got the audiobook for this, and it's narrated by the author, Jason Reynolds. And I was surprised. It was really evocative. It was so well written. It's done in a verse novel style, so it almost read like poetry. But it's basically about a boy who lives in kind of the wrong side of the town. He's in a black neighborhood where there's gangs and violence. A lot of it. It's kind of like the scenario of The Hate You Give, if you've read that kind of mentality. And his brother gets shot and killed, and his brother, excuse me, his brother teaches him, we have two rules. We need to fight back. So he felt that he needed to seek vengeance for his brother. Well, he wasn't somebody, he was kind of like he had a lot more going on for him. He was never really meant to be, have that gang type life, that sort of mentality. And so the story really is he's going down his elevator with a gun that he acquired. And when he reaches the floor, he's going to shoot and kill the person he believes killed his brother as vengeance, because that's what he's supposed to do. That's what he was taught to do. And each floor he goes down, he meets another character from his life or from the life of his brother. And they kind of are there to kind of give him guidance on what's going on with that. It's done extremely well. And it has a very Christmas Carol feeling, with the, ghost of Christmas past, present, future. And it's kind of has that kind of feel to it. It's gritty, and it's so well written. I would highly recommend picking up anything that's by Jason Reynolds. He writes really current YA realistic fiction for kids who would like live in urban areas, work in urban areas. I really do recommend getting this, reading it, whether you're a librarian or you just want something, some good YA to sink your teeth into. This was 5 out of 5 stars for me. Definitely a fantastic read. Okay, next one. I read The Game Can't Love You Back. This was another e-arc copy that I got from NetGalley. And this is from Swoon Reads, and they're an imprint that people submit their manuscripts, and it's voted on, and it's cool. It's like a real voted thing. So like they have covers are voted on by the Swoon community. And this one is a sports romance having to do with baseball. And I haven't read many sports romances with baseball. And it's a YA. And it's about a school that has to separate after something happens with their school. And so they are they are amalgamated with a nearby school. Well, they can't keep their separate soccer or their separate baseball teams. They have to come together, which causes problems for the two main characters who really were at the top of their game in each place, and they kind of have to learn how to work together. And it's a romance between these two people, main people from both sides of the team. And it was okay. It was written well. I just didn't feel like I believed their romance. I didn't feel like everything they felt happened in an organic way. It was just a little stiff for me. And while I'm going to be purchasing it for my library, my kids will eat it up. I didn't necessarily respond the way I think the author maybe wanted you to respond. The male love interest, I kind of was like, I don't know, I didn't really like him that much. I don't know. They're likable characters in general, but I just didn't connect. So I think it was just a case of it's a book not for me. I read it. It was well written, and I would pick up other books by this author. Her name's Karole Cozzo, but it just didn't connect for me. This particular book, I gave it 3.5 stars. Yeah, so I would pick it up, but it just wasn't for me. All right, next book. We Are Okay by Nina Lacour. This is a book I borrowed from my library, but this one was really interesting. It actually had a lot of similarities to me, maybe because they were both realistic fiction, grittier realistic fiction. But this had a lot of similarities to me to Girl Made of Stars. It's a really short novel, and it packs a punch. It's about a girl. She's gay. One thing I love is that she happens to be gay in the story, but it's not really oh my god, I'm gay, what am I gonna do with my life? Everything's over. It's not like that. She just is. It's just like, you know, I'm straight, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a thing. It's not highlighted. Anyways, she loses her mother has died a long time previous, and she doesn't know anything about her mother, really. Her grandfather refuses to talk about it. But anyways, she lives with her grandfather because she doesn't have any other family. And her grandfather passes away. We don't know what happens, but he's gone. He's passed away. And she kind of has a breakdown and decides that she's going to leave everything. She leaves her town, and she goes to school, to college. She's going to college in New York City. And she's in California at this time, and then she goes to New York City. And she's depressed, and she's dealing with some things, but she finally realizes she has to deal with what went on in her past when her best friend from California comes to visit her. And she has to realize, I kind of have to deal with what's going on. And it's just a story about her life and about her relationship with her grandfather. And it's so beautifully done. It won the Prince Award for 2018 or 2017 for 2017's books, which is, if you don't know, is like basically the top fiction award you can win for libraries. So librarians vote on it, and it was the top book of the year. And it deserved it, fully deserved it. It was so well done. If you haven't picked up Nina Lacour, she's a really great writer. Again, like I said, the whole sexuality component is never a big deal in her novels. It's just part of the story. It's more about their relationships with other people and with other scenarios. I really, really think of all the books, you really should try and check that out if you want to read a YA. It's so well written. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. All right, and the last one I have not finished yet. The last one is Twinkle, from Twinkle with Love by Sandhya Menon. This came out last week, I believe. I got it as an e-arc again. And this one was from Edelweiss. I really enjoy it. I'm about halfway through. I really enjoy it, and I think I'll be able to finish it before the end of the month, so that's why I'm talking about it. This is a really interesting story. I read her last story last summer, which was called When Dimple Met Rishi, which was a cute little romance that kind of had to deal with arranged marriages in it, or arranged relationships in it. And I had never read anything like it, and I was really interested to read this new one. And this new one is basically about, a girl who is of, I believe, Indian descent, and she is an aspiring filmmaker. She wants to make films. She loves it, and she lives with her mother and her father, who work all the time, and her grandmother. And she has this big crush on this boy named Neil, who, like, basically he's like a big star, like, swimmer, and he doesn't, like, know who she is at all, but she's just obsessed with him. And she feels, to get herself into his graces and to kind of elevate her status, she needs to get his attention. Well, how she ends up getting his attention is she's able to film a video or a movie with his brother, who she knows him. She doesn't particularly have any interest in him, but she knows him, and they work together to make this film. That's as far as I've gotten. I mean, we know that his brother, Neil's brother, has a bit of a crush on Twinkle. And it's really interesting. I'll have to give my full remarks on it when I do my my June wrap up, or maybe I'll do something in the middle, like a middle of the way through for next month, talking about some books I was reading. But I really like it. It's really well done. I love her writing and her voice. Excuse me, Twinkle's voice. But yeah, that's what I've read this month. It's a little lower than the amount that I would normally want to read. Like, I try to get between 10 and 12 books read a month. But I've been kind of slowing down a little bit for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. But what I would love to know is, what is your favorite book of May? What is your favorite book? Something maybe I should check out. As always, you can find me on my social media at Beyond Bookish. On Twitter, it's at Beyond Bookish Kate. I'll have it linked down in the description box. And yeah, if you notice that I'm wearing the same clothes in some future videos, I'm going to do some pre-filming, so I'll be doing my June TBR, and I have another exciting TBR coming up that I am excited to film too. So thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Bye!